Tonight, we continue our dedication to artists and musicians in St. Lawrence County. It's part of a special series funded by the legacy of Brasher Falls Dr. Dorothy Badenhausen. Allow us to introduce you to Carrie Hill, a talented basket maker on the Akwesasne Reservation. For Carrie, what started as a part-time job became a full-time passion.
My name is Carrie Hill, and I am a sweetgrass and black ash basket weaver. I grew up in Akwesasne, born and raised my whole life. I never really lived anywhere different. I mean, occasionally I would go and visit places, but I lived here my whole life. Growing up, my aunts always made baskets, and I would watch them, and it was just kind of always in my family. And then when I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mother, I asked my aunt, I was like, "Auntie, would you teach me how to do baskets?" And she was like, "Sure." And so I started doing the things and doing the weaving and putting the pieces together. And it was just something I fell in love with. It felt like something I was supposed to do. My weaves were tight, my curls were uniform. Like, it was just really, really cool. And I loved it because I finally had a way to express creativity. I never really had that before. And so after the baby was sleeping, I would go to my aunt's house and she would show me how to do these things, and I would pick it up rather quickly, and I just have been making baskets ever since. Well, to make a basket, first you have to get a black ash tree and pound it off. You have to pound the layers, and then I get the layers from a splint pounder, and then I bring it back and I soak it and I peel it apart carefully. And depending on how thick that growth ring is, because that's essentially what's being taken off of the tree, is the growth ring, I peel it apart as many times as I can, and then that determines what kind of basket I'm gonna use or make. And so after I peel apart my splint, then I use my gauges and I cut it into the pieces that I want to work with, and then I carefully lay out my pattern, and then I start weaving it with sweetgrass. This is my splitter. This is what I use to peel apart the growth rings of the black ash tree. It would get fed up through here, put here, you apply pressure, and you peel it apart evenly. It does take many hours for the black ash to soak, so unfortunately I'm not prepared for that at the moment. But when I purchase my black ash from local splint pounders, this is a bundle I would receive from them. And these are each growth ring from the black ash tree, and this is what I'm peeling apart to make the splint finer. After you peel it apart, you have shiny on the outside, which then becomes the inside, and then the rough on the outside. And this is what we're trying to get from this. Once I get it to this point and it's still wet and I can soak it, I then take a gauge that my uncle made. He made my tools, my splitter. He used to pound splint. He has passed away this just recently, but he did my hand tools. And this is what I would use to pull the splint through to cut even strips. And from there, if I want to dye the splint, then I have to take it in the house and boil it on the stove with the dye, because I do use the commercial dyes. So you can see this basket is completely natural, but what I did try to do was use really dark brown splint and some really bright white splint so that the curls would just pop on the background. On the bottom of the basket, you can see that this lovely green, I know you can't smell it through the camera. See? It smells fantastic, right? This lovely green here. Oh, excuse me. And then, so the sweetgrass is what holds the black ash together. So the wood, this hard part here, and these little curls are all black ash. So these were all peeled apart from the growth ring, and the sweetgrass is on there also as an element that holds it together, and it's a decorative element as well. So while this one, has the curls and the pops on there, like the points, I guess. And then another way to do it is this. Now this weave is called the corn washing weave. I use it as a decorative weave, but in our culture and our basket weaving with the utility baskets, which is a completely different creature than what I do, the corn washing weave actually serves a purpose in the corn washing basket, but here it's a decorative element where it just has a pattern that it follows. And for this one, I use commercial dyes. I love Rit berries from Walmart are the best. And yeah, so it has still the same elements, the sweetgrass and the splint and the black ash splint. I do. I make fancy baskets out of black ash and sweetgrass. So black ash and sweetgrass are the materials that we have as northeastern woodland people, and that's what we use to make our baskets, the materials that are available to us. It's becoming a challenge with the black ash because the quality of the black ash is starting to falter here and there, and it's becoming harder and harder to get. The emerald ash borer is my boogeyman. It's a very tiny little beetle. It's beautiful. It's iridescent green, and I love the color, but he's awful. He's decimated my trees, and it's becoming an endangered species, black ashes. I think that my enthusiasm for basket weaving has grown over the years. As my skill set has grown, I've pushed the boundaries and challenged myself to try many things. I have so much creativity and craziness in my head that I have to get it out in this art form. And so, like, I'm a real fan of curls on my basket, and I think it's just because I have curly hair. Just kidding. But my enthusiasm has grown because my skill set has grown, so I just really push the boundaries on what I'm doing. Like, I started making simple flat weave over under baskets with the black ash and the sweetgrass, and then eventually I started to ask my auntie, and I was like, "Auntie, could I try this?" And her answer was always, "Try it." So the try it was like an encouragement to be as creative as I wanted with it, which was fantastic because I went from making simple, plain, flat weave baskets to works of art that, I mean, I've gotten some ribbons and some accolades from it. It's not why I do it, but it's really nice to have. Well, I don't know that I have like a set goal in mind for the future as far as basket weaving. I just only hope to do it as long as I can and as long as I have access to the materials that are usable. I just plan to make baskets until I can't.